This is my first Michael Zoom. Oh, there, I got a little early. The recording is now going. Sorry, y'all. My name is Meredith. I am one of the singer educators, and this is my first Michael Zoom. I'm very excited to be here and to introduce you to the new Momento cutting machine that we have. It is large and in charge and very exciting, all the things that it can do. So let's get going. I'm going to show you what it looks like first. So here it is. This is our Singer Momento cutting machine. It is a 24-inch cutting machine, very large space that you can work within. You can do even smaller as well if you needed to. You don't have to use the whole space, but it's good to have that amount of space if you need it. Let's go through what all you see here. So over here, we are going to have our dual tool holder. So you are going to be able to put a pen or any marking tool over here. And on this side, you will be able to put your rotary blade, your basic blade, deep cut blade, embossing, all of those things right on this side. So you can have both of them going at the same time. So you're not having to switch. If you draw something and then want to cut around it, you can do that all in one step. And we're going to go through that too as we get going. You're also going to have your pinch wheels. That's going to be right here. We have one, there's one more underneath over here. This one doesn't move, but these three can move. On the back side, I have this thing that popped up. Hold on one second. Okay, on the back side, there's a little handle back here, and it's going to raise those pinch wheels up so that you can move them if you need to, depending on the mat that you have. And we'll get into that when we start cutting some things in a minute. And then you can lower that down as well. Up here at the top, I use it to hold my blades when I'm not using them, but also you can put a tablet up here. So I'm going to go into our software as well, but we have a MySonnet Momento cutting or crafting software. And so you can download that onto your tablet or your computer, and that is free. So you can have your tablet sitting up here. You can send the designs to it. You can create on here, or you can create on your computer and then open this up and have this all right here at an easy touch for you to be able to use and send to your machine. Over here on the side, you can see a little bit, there's a little tool holder. So I've got, a bunch of my the little picks and all of those types of things over here. And then over here, you're going to see our LCD touch screen. So this is where you're going to be able to open up the preset designs. There's a couple shapes in here. So if you're a quilter or a sewist in that way, there's some basic shapes in here that are super helpful to have, and you can change the size of them and whatnot. You can also save favorites in here. So after you've cut a design, it will give you the option to save it as a favorite. So if you were cutting something over and over again, it would be nice to have that saved in here so that you don't even have to connect to the software. You can just pull it up right here and cut it out quick and easy. You can repeat last projects and then load mat. And again, we'll get into that in just a minute. And then your power button is going to be down here. We also have, so this is a Wi-Fi enabled machine, but there also is a blue cord that comes with it. So if you don't have the best internet in your location, you can direct connect and it goes straight to it really seamlessly and easy. There's not a USB, it's just going to be this direct connect cord. But I've never had any issues. I've taken this a couple places and I haven't had any issues with my Wi-Fi connectivity and sending it directly that way as well. So if there's not any questions with that, oh, there's also on the back side, again, you can't really see it, or you sort of can see the corner of it right there. There's this little table that goes down. So when you're using the larger mats, it's got that support in the back as well. So we'll talk about the mats here in just a minute. But if there's not any questions on the machine as a whole, let's talk about mats really quick. So it comes with what it comes with. Let's talk about that really quick. It comes with one 12 by 24 standard grit mat, which is going to be the gray mat. And it comes with the rotary blade, which I think is super exciting, especially for our fabric crafters out there, because you can take this home and start cutting fabric right away without having to purchase an extra blade and things like that. Comes with the basic blade, the rotary blade, and I think it comes with one marker and a couple tools and things like that, and that blue cord, and then the one mat. So I have a couple of different mats to show you here. So we have 12 by 12 mats that are just normal square mats. Again, we have standard grit mats, which are gray. We have fabric mats that are red. We have strong grit mats that are blue. And we have light grit mats that are green. But we also have 12 by 24 in mats. 12 by 24 right here. And then we have 24 by 24. So you can get super big, like I can barely even get it all on the screen. So 24 by 24. And I'll tell you in a second, what I cut on that, and it saved me so much time being able to put it all on one mat like that. But all of those mats come in those sizes with the type of mat that I mentioned that they have. So those you can purchase separately as well. There are also different types of markers that we have you can purchase separately. There's brayers, all of the tools you can think of. You can purchase them on singer.com or wherever Momento is sold for you. So I think that's it with the machine per se that I wanted to show you. But as we go through it, I'm going to show you the steps on doing different types of things. So we're going to start with cutting paper first and drawing on it at the same time. So I'm going to go through a little bit of the software kind of quickly, just what I'm doing, but I want to give you an introduction into it, especially if you do have a Momento and you haven't played in the software yet. I want you to feel a little bit more comfortable with it. So I'm going to share my screen here. So here is the Momento software. Can I get rid of this? Hold on one second. I had something pop down in there. Here's the Momento software. Again, it's free. You can find it on the MySewNet embroidery or MySewNet website is where you can find it under crafting software. So this is what you're going to see when you open it up. I'm going to go back one step here. Give me 1 second. So when you open it up, this is what you'll see. You'll be able to see any of it's going to pop up here in just a second. You'll be able to see any of your past projects, recent things, all of that's in here. And you can also choose the canvas size that you would like to work on. So it could be a custom size or any of the mat sizes that I had mentioned. What's nice about the 12 by 24 is that you can go vertical or horizontal with it. So I love that we have that option. So I'm just going to open up a 12 by 12 plain space here. But even though I've chosen a 12 by 12, I'm not limited to that. I can come over here to this little view symbol, and I can make this any size that I want it to be. So I could make this 24 by 24, and that's just the space that I'm working within. So you can easily change the size as you go. Over here, you're going to see all of these icons. And so this is a select icon, the little mouse clicker, multi-select. If you wanted to drag and select, you could do that there. This is select all. You could just easily select everything that's on your screen. You can deselect. This one is aligning. If you've got different words and things or items that you want to align, you can do that there as well. I don't have anything on my screen right now, but this is cut, paste, copy, all of those things, trash. But down here, you're going to see this first one is grouping. So if you need to group, attach, weld, all of those things, it's going to be right in here. Below that, you're going to be able to insert from a device. So whether that be your tablet, or your computer, you can insert from the vault or the library. So the vault and the library is on the MySewNet website. We have designs and cut files that you can purchase, or if you have one of the subscriptions, you can have access to those as well. So you can find all of those things as well from there. But right here, this next one is where you're going to be able to find the lettering that's available, sample designs, basic shapes. And if you wanted to create your own, you could do lines as well to make your own shape design. So I'm just going to go to basic shapes, and you're going to see all of these different shapes. I love that. And within those, you sometimes have multiple options too. Look, there's even more. They were still loading. See if there's any more after that. I think that's it. So right up here, we're going to choose one of these hearts. We've got 3 options of hearts. I'm going to choose this one right here. We're going to select OK. I'm going to just move that up to my corner. One thing I just thought about that I want to mention, because I had somebody ask this on another live that I've done. You notice I don't have my number icons up here. And what I figured out is I'm too zoomed out. So if you zoom in a little bit, you can use the little icons up here, or you can control and scroll in. Then your numbers are going to show back up. So if you are in the software and you're like, I can't see my numbers, where are they at? Like it's difficult to work with in that way. That's the issue, is that you just need to zoom in a little bit more and they'll all show up there. So I'm going to make a little heart here. I'm still going to zoom in some more because I'm not going to make this too big of a heart, but we're going to make a heart here. And if I knew that I wanted this to be on white paper, I can come over here. Let me move that. There we go. And I can change my material color. So I'm going to be cutting on white paper. So I'm going to change that to white. And I know that it's a cut file right here, but if I wanted to change that to a pen or engrave or anything like that, this is where you would change the type of technique you would be doing on it. But for this first one, we're going to cut. And then I want to add in some text. So I'm going to come back over here and we're going to select lettering. And we're going to type in, I love Momento. Oh, there we go. And this obviously is not going to fit all in this heart. So if you scroll down just a little bit, we can center all of that first right there. But then if I am back up here, if I make this on 2 lines, then it put it just like that. However you see it over here is how it's going to be there. And you can align it to the right, you can align it to the left and center and so forth. So we're going to put that in the center. Yep, there it goes. And we're just going to move it over here and sort of move in these little squares until it fits within our heart there. I like also that I can make these lines, the line height a little bit shorter. So you see that how they're getting a little bit closer. You can make the gap of the letters further apart and all of that as well. So let's change our font too. Let me show you a couple of the fonts. If you come over here and just select this right here, a window is going to pop up. There it is. And then hold on, they're still loading. Maybe. I'm not direct connect with my internet to my computer where I'm at, so that's why it's a little bit slower. So these are some of the fonts that we have, and you also have access. If I keep scrolling down, I want to show you this. I'm going to scroll past, and it's all in alphabetical order, but then it starts back over at A. So all of these fonts in the second set are what's on my computer. So you have access to whatever is directly on your computer as well. So I'm going to come back. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. As you're looking at all those fun fonts, do you know how many fonts are available? It's almost unlimited because you have the ability to take things from your computer, right?
Yes, almost. I mean, you can see I'm scrolling and my little icon over here. I don't know the exact number, Sonny, if you do, but I mean, there's almost endless fonts here. I don't want to say endless, but pretty close. Do you know if there's an exact number, Sonny?
I don't. I just had to stop and let everybody see because I think it's amazing how many fonts are here. There's probably I want to say there was like 150 in the first line. So I mean, you've got a lot of fonts to choose from. So it's actually pretty cool, Meredith.
And they're constantly adding more and more cut files and fonts and things like that. So it's never ending. What you see now is not they will continue to add to that. So that's what I think is really great as well. So here we have our little heart and our phrase, but I want to make sure that my phrase right now, it's a cut file. So what that would do is it's actually going to cut out my heart and then it will cut out those letters inside of my heart. Well, I don't want that. I want to change that to a pen. So we're going to come up here and select our pen. And I'm actually going to be using like a reddish pink pen. So I'm going to change my color too, because I kind of want to see what my finished design is going to look like. So there it is right there. So now what we're going to do, I already have a mat loaded. I have a 12 by 12 light grit mat loaded with cardstock on it. So I'm going to actually switch my view here to 12 by 12 because that's what I'm using this time. And then right up here, this little output, we are going to send this directly to our machine. So I'm going to send to machine and I'm going to select a 12 by 12 and select next. And these are all of the options for materials that you have. And there are so many different things from fabric to cardstock to foam to magnetic sheets, so many different things and different materials that you can use, leather, all kinds of fun stuff in here. You can narrow down that search as well. So if I knew that I was going to be cutting paper, I could just select paper, and then it's going to give me only the paper options. So I'm going to actually choose heavy cardstock. We're going to select continue. And here's what it looks like. Right now, it automatically defaults to move to the top. Well, I mean, for what I'm doing here, I could leave it that way, but I like to, sometimes I cut whatever it is to fit in a certain space, and I don't want it to move to the top. So I deselect that most of the time. If you had multiple things on here, multiple shapes, you could rearrange to reduce waste as well. In that way there, but we're just going to keep it as do not arrange, and we're not going to move it to the top. So you can see all of the settings that you've already selected. If you needed to flip or reverse the cutting, this is really important when you are doing heat transfer vinyl, because you're actually going to cut backwards so that you can then flip it over when you're ironing it on. So keep that in mind. But what I like is that if I were to have selected heat transfer vinyl, it's going to automatically flip to reverse, so that even if I forget to switch that, it's right there. So we're going to select next, and now it wants me to load my mat. So this is where I'm actually going to stop sharing a minute. There we go. And I'm going to switch my cameras here. So we're going to talk about the pinch wheels. Here's my mat that's already loaded with my cardstock on it. I'm going to raise my pinch wheels in the back. Whenever you're using a mat that is smaller than 24 wide, all 4 of your pinch rollers need to be on the mat. So this far one over here, they do slide. Once you raise it up, this one's a little bit tighter. They move over just like that, and you can line them up. So this first one, I just want to line it right along the edge of my mat. And these guys, I'm going to scoot them over here as well. But what you want to avoid is, if you notice these little silver lines right here, they're about 1 inch wide. You don't want to have a roller going over those. So you just want to avoid that. And it even has a little symbol. You can't see it, but it's etched in right here on this silver plate, so that you know not to put that there. So I've got all my rollers over here, and I'm going to lower my pinch wheels back down like that. Oh, and I got them under there. Hold on. Lower them back down. And then what we're going to do is, over here on our screen, I'm going to touch load mat. And that's just going to pull it back. And that's preloading it. I want you to notice also, with this mat, there is a thicker section up here and at the bottom. You see that, how it's about 1 inch there, and there's only about 1/2 inch here. You should only have your mat going this way or the other way, not side to side. You don't want either of these shorter pieces to be up at the top, because it knows how much to feed it based off of this inch roughly that's right here. So just a little side note tidbit: whenever you're loading things, there is a right or a wrong to your mats. You want the Singer Momento at the top in some way, not the numbers. So now that our mat is loaded, we're going to kind of be doing a little bit of back and forth. So bear with me here. I'm going to go back to my screen, and I'm going to select continue, because I have loaded my mat. If I had not, it would have said, hey, it doesn't recognize a mat. So now it wants me to load my pin and my blade, and this is my basic blade here. You can change the pressure and the speed all right here on one screen. But I know that these settings that are in here are good, so we're going to leave that just as it is, and we're going to select continue. So that's going to load up in here. I'm going to wait for that. There it goes. So I'm going to hit start just in a minute, but I'm going to show you back over here now on this screen. We're going to load our basic blade and our pin, our marking pin. So I have the dual tip pin. I've got 2 of them here. I've got one that's got a thicker marker type tip, and then I've got a fine point tip, if you see the difference in that. So I'm going to load my thicker one, and it's going to go in this first tool holder right here, and I'm going to push in my little button all the way. Then I'm going to take my blade, take off my little cap. I always make sure I store my blades with their caps on them, because I have cut myself one too many times because I didn't put those back on. So all of those are pressed in good there. And now
Meredith,
yes.
I'm sorry, before you go forward, does it matter? I know you said you put 1 and 1, but you know, the pin in the left and the blade in the right, but does that matter?
Yes, it does matter. So the blade will not fit over here. It fits, but it doesn't go far enough down. So you see how much space I have right here? If I go and put this over here, it comes all the way down. So you want your blades and any cutting tool is going to go on the right, and all of your pins or marking are going to go on the left. And you can tell they have different size holes, so you would be able to get them right. And it shows on that icon before I moved to send to machine, it shows left and right as well. So that gives you that little guide reference for putting it on either side. So now what I'm going to do, I can either go back to my software and select start, or directly on the machine, I have start cutting. So I'm going to come back over here so you can see this, and I'm going to select start. So it's going to do my words first. Look at how quickly this is going. Super fast. And then it's going to immediately go into cutting in just a minute. And you could separate those. So these are welded together as one design. But if you had them ungrouped or unwelded, you could cut them separately if you wanted to. So now it's going into cutting. And there we go, just like that. So now I'm going to, let me show you this over here. This is where you could repeat if you wanted to do this again, and you could save to favorites. So if this is something that I was going to be cutting a bunch of out of, I would want to save this. I know my settings are good, that it's cut through, and you could save it so that it's directly on your machine to access it anytime. I'm going to select close, and then we're going to eject the mat. So eject. Whoop. So now my mat rolls back out. I'm going to flip this over. And there's that piece. There's my cutaway. But then got my little heart right there. And I could attach this to something, cut out a bunch of these at a trade show I was at, and we handed them out for people to put on their little badge and stuff. So, so many fun things you could do just with paper. So any questions on paper and drawing so far? That's pretty simple and easy. And yeah, so let's move on. If there's not any questions, I'm just going to keep going. And if you have questions later, just feel free to send them in, and I'm happy to answer them.
No questions yet, Meredith. I think everyone is just enjoying, but I guess are there any questions? Anybody? I want to know. I wrote in the chat, like, how would you use the writing besides, you know, this? I want to write all my name cards. So I think that would be really fun.
It would be neat to do, so 4th of July is coming up, and if you're having a picnic, you could make little name place cards for everybody and set those out, make little trifold ones, really simple and easy to do. You could even have it cut the rectangle that you're folding in half so that you're not having to go do that later. Put a whole sheet on here, cut it every 3 inches or so, and have your little name cards. Really easy to do that way. I did something like this specifically for my son's class. They wrote like a thinking of you card that they could all sign. So I don't have the best handwriting. I am not a calligrapher or a letter writer at all. I've actually taken some Michael's classes for hand lettering because I'm just not the best at it. But I can easily cut that out, glue that to a piece of construction paper that they can all sign, and it's super cute and simple. So lots of different ways you can use the pens as well. So yeah, if not, I'm just going to keep going to the next thing, but I wanted to give everybody a second if they had questions. So next we're going to talk about vinyl. So with vinyl, it gets not more tricky, but you just have to be a little bit more mindful of things. So when you're doing things with vinyl, you want to make sure that you're not cutting completely through the vinyl and then through the mat. So that's when test cuts come into play. So I've sort of made this little, if you can see, let me see if I can get it. If you see right up there at the top, do you see all those little squares that have started to cut? See them in the light. So you can do these little test cuts to make sure that you're not cutting completely through, like that square that I did cut, it doesn't cut completely through, but that you are getting enough of a cut. So if I peel back the one right before that, it didn't completely, it started to, but it didn't completely cut through without having to pull. You see how that's pulling everything else? So you always want to do one of these test cuts so that you're not wasting your vinyl. This stuff isn't very cheap, so you want to make sure that you're being resourceful and mindful of that. So let's go through that. I'm going to share my screen again here. And we're going to pull something. We're going to pull the Stinger logo in. So this is back to where we were at. So I'm going to cancel out of where I was at. And I'm going to delete these, not that one, this one. Actually, what I can do is I can just come over here and delete in this way. So I'm going to go back home and I'm going to pull in our little Stinger S logo. So give me 1 second as it pulls up. Because I've made some stickers before. So down here, I've got my little S logo, and this is a 1-layered vinyl cut. I know that there are some that are double layered, and I'm going to show you that in just a second, an example of one of those. So here is my Singer S logo. It defaulted to the mat that I had used also, which is the 12 by 24, which is what I'm conveniently using today. So here it is right there. I'm going to scooch it down just a little bit because I know that I'm going to do those test cuts and I want some room for those up here at the top. So I'm going to send this to my machine. And side note, if you notice this little red dot down here, this means there's an update. I love that. I'm connected to the internet and it's telling me that there's an update that needs to be had. And what's nice is if I am connected, if my machine is connected to the same Wi-Fi, it will do the same update with the machine as well if there's one there. So just a little side note for extra help there. So this is a 12 by 24 mat. And if you have the option when selecting a 12 by 24 mat, you want to make sure that it's landscape. You get better surface. I'll show you on the machine here in just a second. You get better surface coverage when you are doing 24 wide versus 24 long with just 12 wide. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to choose vinyl. We're going to select continue. And again, I don't want to move this to the top, but I want you to make note of this green line right here. So in a minute, I'm going to show you this mat, but I want you to remember this green line that I have. So we're going to select next, and then it wants me to load it, but I'm going to stop sharing a minute and switch here. So here's our mat. We need to move these pinch wheels because we were just using a 12 by 12 before. So we're going to raise the pinch wheels. We're going to scooch this one all the way over. You just push until it can't go anymore. And then you can just space these guys out like that, as long as they're not in those silver areas. But you always want 4 rollers on any mat that you're using, the 12 by 12, 12 by 24, whatever it is. You always want the 4 rollers to be covering the entire mat. So when I get them placed where I want, I'm going to lower my pinch wheels. Then I'm going to push load mat on my screen or on my machine. I can do, actually, you can't do it on your in the software. I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't have it. Here's a good point right here. So you notice this is not underneath over here. Let me see if you can see it on this screen. So right here, do you see this little overhang right here? You want to make sure that the mat is under those as well on the other side. So I'm going to eject the mat and put it underneath. I just didn't have it underneath this little ledge right here. And there's also one more, you can't see it, but when you're looking at your machine, it's right underneath. You want to make sure you're under both of those ledges. So going back to that green line that was on the software, you notice that it was about a 1/2 inch lower on your mat than there was more space above it that you could have used. So if you look at these mats, remember I mentioned on the 12 by 12, you want to have this thicker part up at the top or like this part. You don't want to have it like this. Because of how it is programmed, these mats like this have that thinner edge on them. So the software has taken that into account and actually gone ahead and moved your cut, whatever it is that you're doing, a little bit lower so that you're not out of the space to work within. So I love that it's pre-done that for me already. So we're going to come back over here. So again, that's that smaller space right up here. I'm going to load my mat, make sure that I'm under all 4 of my little ledges there. And then we're going to select load mat. And before I send my design to cut, we want to do a test cut. So up here, you'll see this 4 little arrows going side to side. This is where you can select your pressure and things like that to do a test cut. And you can move it where you want it as well. This would almost be like if you wanted to fussy cut a piece of fabric as well. So if you had something on the fabric and you wanted to cut directly that section out, you could move where you wanted to do that as well, not just with your test cuts. So that's helpful there. So I have my basic blade in and I've got my little wheel here. I'm going to scooch it over. I'm going to show you so you can see what I'm doing.
So Meredith, before you go on, there's a good question about on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
How can you see, like you were just talking about fussy cutting, right? Moving things to a specific place. is there a place or is there a way to see on the position on the mat before you actually start cutting, where you're going to cut?
So not with this particularly, but there is the scan and cut. That would be if you were creating stickers, you would print out on, there's a specific type of sticker paper and it has register marks. And whenever you send a design, it's programmed in as a scan and cut. So the machine knows to look for those register marks. I have actually made the mistake when I was very first starting with this. I had sent in a design and I didn't just choose cut, I chose print and cut. So I loaded everything and I could tell that the dual tool holder, it was moving. And I was like, what is this looking for? And it gave me this error that it couldn't register something. I don't remember what the exact words were, but I had selected scan and cut. So it was looking for those register marks that you find on sticker paper to cut. So when it does that, it sort of has a camera where it's looking for those, but not particularly yet where you can see before you're going to cut. So you do want to practice a little bit and get a better idea of where it's exactly going to cut, but you can then move your blade to cut where you need to. So I hope that answers that question. So we're going to come back over here and I'm going to do my little test cut. So I've got my blade scooted over on my vinyl here, and I actually already know the pressure setting because I've done it. But I'm going to lower that a little bit just for the example of showing you guys. So I'm going to lower this to 350 on my little screen over here. And then I can again move my little arrows to get it where I want it, and I can begin test cut. And it's going to do just a quick little square, just like that. So then I can eject my mat, and I've got my little tool over here. Where did we go? And there's a little square right here. I'm going to try and take this up. Oh, look, it did work. Never mind. That backfired. It didn't cut at that pressure earlier. So anywhere, there's my test cut. And then you can also check to make sure that it didn't cut through your paper. So that's what you would want to avoid. You want enough pressure to cut the vinyl, but not enough to cut through. So there's that. That sort of backfired on me. I was hoping to be able to show you sort of like with this one here, how I did my different steps. And I've got my different squares up here already cut. But anyway. Okay, so we're going to load our mat again.
And while you're loading, Meredith,
Oh.
so while you're loading, do different vinyls require different or different brands of vinyl or different styles of vinyl? Do they require different pressure?
Yes. So depending on what it is, if you're doing a heat transfer vinyl, it requires a different pressure than regular vinyl, and different brands. Some can be a little bit thicker than others. So it's really important to do that test cut before, like I said, so that you're not wasting your vinyl and things like that. It's really just based off of the brand and that in that way. So, all right, let's get our mat loaded here one more time. I didn't like how it looked. If something doesn't look right or it doesn't sound right, go ahead and just eject it and reload it until you get it the way you need. So I'm going to share my screen again, just to go through the steps, because I feel like it's helpful to be repetitive. So I have my mat loaded and I'm going to select continue. And now you notice I only have a blade selected in here. So I'm actually going to take my pin out, because if you guys knew how many pins I let dry out because I forget to take my pin out and put my cap back on. So I just have my blade in this time, and it has my force at 160. I'm actually going to increase that to about 350, which is what I just did on my test cut. And I know it worked. And then you can adjust the speed if you want, but I normally just leave the speed as is. And then select continue, and then it's going to send it to the machine. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. So it's sent to the machine, and again, in the software, I can hit start cutting or right over here. And I think I'm actually going to be in my square, but we'll see. So I'm going to start cutting. And it's just going to move and cut my little vinyl S, and I'll show you guys a finished one here in just a second. So this is what we're cutting out here, the little Singer S logo. So again, this is just a 1-layer logo, and then you would take the transfer tape and you would put that over here, use the little squeegees to transfer it over. And then what you would end up doing is you end up peeling so that it's stuck to the transfer tape, and then you can put it wherever you need to. So that was how quick that did that there. So I'm going to close and eject that. I'm going to peel this off. And I'm going to, one of the other little tools that you can get, the little Singer Momento scissors. I'm going to cut around my little S logo. And then what you can do is take your little tool, pull up the corner there. And there's my circle. And then we got to take out that negative space on the inside. So just like that. So there's our Singer S logo. And you saw how quickly I did that. Super fast. Or I didn't do it. The machine did it. The machine did it really fast for us. And there you go. You have that sticker. So another thing I know people do is you can do like layered stickers depending on the design and things like that. So I just wanted to show you an example of that. I'm a little extra sometimes. So I like to personalize anything I can personalize. So I am on my kids' PTA at their school. And so I have a little notebook that I can just keep everything I'm working on all together. But I made a little thing to go on top of it. So these are all 3 different cuts here. The blue and then the red and then the white, they're all 3 different cuts and they're layered on top of each other. And if I ever get to come back and do another one of these, maybe I'll show you how to do fun things like that layered, but you can do multi-layered things like this, where the blue, my name was even cut out with it. I put the transfer tape over it and just stuck it all on there. One big sticker. So there's that as well. Any questions on vinyl and things like that before I switch to fabric? We're going to go to fabric next. We're just moving along. I hope y'all are enjoying this and learning a bunch. I'm trying to clean up my little bit of space that I have before I start doing my next thing. So let's go back over to the software. And we're going to back out of this because we've done our little vinyl cut. And there's that green line again. You remember that's that negative space. So this is actually space on the cutting surface area. So whenever you're doing something on a mat that's 12 by 24 landscape or portrait, you just want to make sure that your fabric is, or whatever your material is below that 1/2 inch. It's really just a 1/2 inch. So I wouldn't want my design to be higher up and my fabric to be, you know what I mean? Like I'm very efficient with my cutting of my whatever it is I'm using. I want it to be almost exactly what the size is so that I'm not wasting anything. So just be mindful of that when you're placing whatever your material is, that it's a 1/2 inch lower. So we're going to close out of this. We're going to get rid of our little logo. Where's my trash can? There it is. And then we're just going to pull in some shapes. So going into fabric, I know a lot of people do like paper piecing and quilting and things like that in basic shapes. So we are going to just put in a basic shape over here. I'm going to go ahead and do a square. And if you are new to quilting, there are specific seam allowances, like there are with garment sewing, there is with quilting. You want to have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I want to show you how to put your own shapes in here, whatever size they may be, but then also add in your seam allowance so that you have your lines for doing that as well. For those that are new to quilting, I think it's super helpful to have that guideline whenever you're quilting and sewing things together. So we are going to come over here, and this is currently a cut file. We want to actually make this a pin. So we're going to change that to a pin, and my pin is going to be red. And I'm going to talk about a couple of our pins here in just a minute. So I'm going to change that to red, and you can see it just a little bit there, my outline. But I want to add a border to that now, and you can select the different markers that we have as well, the different thicknesses and whatnot. So I'm actually going to move this up to a 3.5. It's going to make it a little bit bolder for you to see there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to add in, add a border. So down here at the bottom, you can see add border. And you can add a curved border. So let's show you what that looks like. And you can select, or you can decide how big you want that border to be. So again, with quilting, it's 1/4 inch seams. So I've got 0.25, which is 1/4 inch. And we hit OK. And then there it is. So there's my little, let me deselect. So you see how my lines are curved there. So this is actually, it should be a cut. If it's not, let's see. I think it's actually, is it this? No, I'm still in the right place. Am I in the right one? Where did it go? Hold on a second. Let's see. Oh, I know, it's grouped them. That was my issue. So when you ungroup them, I can then just select one. So this is a cut file. And again, I could make this whatever I wanted to, but we want to leave this at a cut. So whenever it finishes, it's going to cut this square. Let's actually change the size of our square first before we do that. Let's say we want our square to be, well, it's a 3x3. So whenever, if you want a finished square size sewn together to be 3x3, you want to make your final or your initial cut 3.5 by 3.5 because you have a 1/4 inch on each side that you're going to have for your seam allowance. So this is going to be a 3.5 by 3.5 cut, but it will finish at 3x3. I hope that makes sense. I got a little wordy with that, sorry. So you could change the material color if you wanted to, if you knew what it was going to be, you could do that as well. We're just going to leave it as white for right now. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you. We're going to send this to our machine. So send to machine. And I'm going to be using, I think it is, yep, it is the 12 by 24 landscape mat, but I'm going to be using the fabric mat. And we're going to come over here to, I'm just going to choose heavy fabric. And there it is. I don't want to move it to the top. I'm going to just leave it where I've got it. Actually, we can go ahead and move it to the top. It doesn't matter.
Meredith, is there
Yes.
a reason why you kept that as curved versus a straight?
Thank you. So I can thank you, Sonny. I was showing them initially, but when you're doing this, let me go back. I'm actually going to make it a straight line. I think I got distracted when I couldn't click on it to change it. So we're actually going to just delete that one. We're going to go. Oh, let's try. Delete that square and we're going to do that again. Thank you, Sonny, for catching that. So we're actually going to make this a straight edge border just like that. And so you could ungroup it here so that it's not grouped together and you can make those adjustments if you need. So wait for it. There it is. So now we have our straight edges. This is what you would do if you were actually making one to sew together. So I'm going to actually go ahead and group these back together. So I'm going to come up here and we're just going to select all. And then down here, we're going to just attach them and put them all back together so that it will draw and cut at the same time. So now we're going to send it to the machine. Good catch. And I'm going to choose heavy fabric. There we go. And leave it right there. And then we're going to select next. And we're going to load our mat. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to come over here. We're going to load our mat, make sure that we're underneath over on both sides and push load mat on the machine. Just like that. But what we need to do also is we need to change our blades. So let me go back on the screen to show you that as well. So I've loaded my mat, so we're going to select continue. And here's where I need to add in my pin. And we'll talk about pins in a second. So our pin's going to go on our left side as indicated here, and our blade is going to go on the right side. I'm going to leave my pressure settings where they are, and we're going to select continue. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to talk about pins really quick. So we have water soluble pens that will wash away, and then we have heat away pens. So you could put an iron to it and then it will just disappear. That's the one I'm going to go ahead and use today. So we're going to put our, let me make sure before I do that. Yep, we're so good. Make sure I didn't leave that one out to dry. We're going to put our pin right in there. And then we're going to talk about our rotary blade. So this is a little bit bigger than your basic blade or your deep cut blade that we have over here. It's got this whole extra piece on it and it's got a little plug. So it's going to plug in right here in the top. We're going to take our cap off. And a little side note, whenever you need a new blade, you don't have to buy a whole new one of these. We have replacement blades that come in these caps and they come with a little screwdriver so that you can easily change it without ever having to physically touch the blade. So you would unscrew your screw, pull out this mechanism, and the blade is inside of there. You can then put this into one of the new blades and then screw the screw back into it. So you're never having to touch the blades and possibly cut yourself. So we're going to put this over here and then we're going to push down. and push in our little cap here. And I know you guys can't see it live, but there is a green light that's lit up on the side here. You want to make sure that that is green right there when you're going. So here we go. We've got everything going. I'm going to select Start Cut over here on my machine. So it's going to draw my square first. This is going to be my sew line. And then it's going to cut. It's rotating first. It's calibrating. That's what it's doing over here. My blade's spinning in a circle, calibrating. And now it's going to cut. And it's cutting that at 1/4 inch so that I can use these lines on my machine and to sew on. And you notice also I have my fabric upside down because I want my seam lines to be on the back side, because whenever you sew 2 pieces together, you've got right sides together and then you sew. So here it is. Let's go ahead and lift it up here. So there's our cut square with our seam lines. So what I could do if I had 2 of these now, you would put them right sides together and then you could sew directly on those lines. And you don't have to worry about being off. There are presser feet that we sell for Singer that have a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but this is a great extra if you're new to quilting and things like that. So and you saw how quick and easy that came up and how quickly that was to do. So let me show you. I'm going to go back in and show you. Say you needed a bunch of these squares. You needed 12 of these squares. So let's go back to the software over here. And we're going to cancel out of this to go back. So say this is the finished square that I want. I know that I want 3 by 3 finished squares, but I need 12 of them. So I don't want to just sit here and copy and paste or duplicate. Like that's too much work, y'all. We don't have time for that. We want to get right to the fun stuff. So I'm going to delete these guys. We just have one finished size that we want here. So this little icon right here is the multiply icon. You can multiply, so duplicate them basically horizontally, vertically, or both ways. So I'm going to show you a couple ways to do that. So say I want to do 4 across, but you notice that the spacing of them, like that's a lot of wasted space right there. So I know that these blocks are 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So let's make our spacing 3 1/2, just to add another 1/4 to it. Did that change it? Oh, no, that's not what we want. Trying to think, what's my math? It's just why I'm wondering why it didn't. There they go. Okay. I thought in the past, anyway, side note, that's on me. So we're going to make this 0.25 apart. That way they're close enough, but there's still space between them. And I clicked out of it before I hit it. So there we have 4 extras. So now we have 5 squares right there, and they're spaced really close together so that I'm not wasting fabric. And then we're going to select apply. There they are. And there's 5 all done right there. And I didn't have to align them or anything like that. It's all done. But you do have that option over here. We have the align icon that you could have done that. But say we want to, I'm going to undo what I just did. And say you want to do, let's go 2 down. And we only want them, again, 0.25. Oh, don't go away. 0.25 separated. There we go. And there I have 15. Oh, again, I've got to hit apply. Well, why is it, please? Oh, hold on. There we go. Need to hit apply first. There we go. And now I have 15 squares all done. And I can cut those out and I can sew those all together and, just quilt away. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to mention. I've got one more thing I can show you just really quick, another use for it that I was showing Sonny and the other Michael's team a minute ago. So I live in the South in Texas, and they do these big overalls. And so why I'm telling you this is because it's a time-saving thing, and with the bigger mat that I had mentioned earlier. So they do these big overalls, and they have letters and things that go down the side. And these are like big 6-inch letters cut out of fabric. Well, that's a lot to have to hand cut, and you could do it, but your hand's going to be sore. It's going to be cramping up, and it's going to take time. So I was able to find the letters and the fonts And this was my original letter, and then I wanted to add a border because when we put them together, we'll layer them together and then they'll just go down the leg. But I was able to put all of these, not all on one, but I think I ended up doing 3 total loads of the big 24 by 24 mat. I filled it with fabric, and I was able to cut this entire stack of letters out, big old stack of letters, out in an hour. Super quick and easy, and you could not have done that by hand and with all the tracing and things like that. So this is another use for adding a border if you wanted to double layer things in that way. So we'll heat and bond these together and they'll be together. And I wanted to show you also some different materials that I have cut on this to show you the strength and the delicacy also of what it can cut. So you saw it cut basic cotton already. So, and I cut a circle and a straight edge shape so you could sort of see it does both. It can do cork. So I've got cork here. You can do, so this is like a suede. We had somebody come up to us at a trade show and we were talking about Momento, and they said the cutter that they have, and I don't remember what it was, it slid the fabric. It didn't cut suede very well specifically. So I was able to cut suede with no issues. I have cut velour, so like not velvet, but I have cut velvet too, but this is like a velour material. I have cut things as delicate as that little shimmer stuff. So I even made some stars for the thing that I'm going to do that I'm going to heat press on. So you can cut thin things like this, and I've cut tulle as well, like the really thin tulle. You can also cut faux vinyl like this. You can cut real leather. So this is real leather that I had on a sheet. I was able to cut that with no issues. I was able to cut, this is another one. It can cut felt, but I've had people ask if you can cut wool felt, which is a little bit thicker. So I was able to cut wool felt with no issues. And then also template. So I went into the store and I got the thickest template paper that I could find, and it cut just fine with that as well. So many different types of things you can do with it. I know we're used to cutters being able to do like paper and vinyl and things, but what's so exciting about Momento is that you can cut fabric and different materials like that with the rotary blade. And it just makes the possibilities almost endless of what you can create and do with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you don't have a Momento yet, I hope you're excited to go get one and start creating with it and doing all the fun things. So.
And Meredith, Dale had said she's learning a lot, so that's really good. I hope everyone is learning. We do have another project coming up on July 18th, a quilted box bag project with Momento. So anyway, so guys, don't, so again, July 18th, I think I think that's what Amy let me know. It is a little box bag project. Say that 3 times fast. So you're getting a lot of people.
It is thick. So they're gonna be cutting like, what is it, diffusible foam?
Yeah, okay.
And it's thick stuff that you can cut on it. So it's really neat.
Yeah. All right. So just lots of thanks for you, Meredith. So we appreciate what you did.
Thank you. And thank you all. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll get to see me again. I'll do some more fun things.